first and foremost, can you explain for anyone listening who's not familiar with a Fox vehicle what it is?
Well, at the time, it was a state-of-the-art chemical, biological, radiological monitoring vehicle that the military had. It could test air, it could test soil, liquid, and basically, for such a mobile unit, if we were attacked by anything, it would show up. And that's in the biological, chemical realm. We didn't specifically ask for that, but they said this is the best we can do for your chemical exposures. So the Fox vehicle came out. They could test for ammonia and for chlorine and other VOCs, especially like chlorine, which was a chemical weapon of mass destruction, if you will. So they came out and set up their vehicles. We had 2 of them there for a while, and they had an additional, on a flatbed, they had some monitoring equipment. And before the war started, we literally had some pretty major sandstorms. And it immediately came across as a biological attack. And we gave a warning, and we suited up, we did everything as to protocol. Then they came back and they did some air sampling of this sandstorm. Because what they initially measure it is by the micron size. Ideally, you want a biological weapon to be 2 to 3 microns. If it's 1 micron, you inhale it and you exhale it. If it's 4 micron, it gets stopped in the sinuses or in the mouth. So ideally, you want the 2 to 3. Very rarely will you find anything in nature that comes across as a huge mass in the sky of 2 to 3 microns, and that's what we had in this sandstorm. Well, they went out and they did all the vapor air testing, and they could find no biological. They did ground testing afterwards, and this took a little bit of time, but all they could find in theirs was sulfur, which was probably from the sulfur dioxide, but it was fine particulate, and their comment was, only in the Middle East can you find this fine of sand. And we have a large number of people who got asthma and bronchitis while they were there. And at 2 and 3 microns, they're going to go into the smallest parts of your respiratory system, to the alveoli, the bronchi, all the different parts of your lungs. And they can cause so many problems, especially when you add in the industrial waste that was going on in Iraq and Kuwait.
So to recap that a little bit, what I'm hearing you say is that you've got this little bit of sand that's essentially the perfect size for entrance into the worst part of the lungs, so much so that that's how we model our biological agents. That's part of what I was hearing from that. But the other part that is important that was attached to that is that attached to these little pieces of sand are all that toxic soup that you were living in. So essentially, it was taking the worst part of nature that you were stuck in and delivering it with the lethality that you would expect from a biological weapon to the point that the Fox vehicle alarm went off. Is that all accurate?
That is correct. We got the worst of Mother Nature. These soldiers didn't believe that there could be anything that fine of sand, any type of sand like that would go in and lodge in the lungs. And coupled with all the pollutants that we were there living with, it just made for the worst case scenario.